Once upon a time in a little peaceful village, there was a boy named Jack. Jack was bright, full of energy, and curious about the world. But Jack had one big flaw: he wasted time. He spent hours lying under the big oak tree, staring at the clouds, or playing games while chores and homework waited. Anytime someone reminded him to get his work done, Jack would shrug and say, "I'll do it later. I've got plenty of time." One day, Jack's father handed him a package. "Take this to Mr. Sam," he said. "He lives by the river. He's an old friend of mine." Jack groaned. He didn't want to go, but his father insisted. "Go on, Jack. It's important." Grudgingly, Jack set off. Mr. Sam was an old man, his silver hair shining in the afternoon sun. When Jack arrived at his little cottage, he was greeted with a warm smile. "Ah, you must be Jack," Mr. Sam said, taking the package. "Thank you, young man." Jack nodded, eager to leave, but Mr. Sam stopped him. "Hold on a moment," he said. "I'd like to show you something." Curious, Jack followed the old man into his garden. The garden was beautiful, filled with colorful flowers and the sound of chirping birds. But in the middle of it stood an old rusty clock. "What's that?" Jack asked. "It's a clock," Mr. Sam said, his voice calm and steady. "But it's more than that. It's a teacher." Jack tilted his head, confused. "A teacher? What do you mean?" Mr. Sam reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of sand. "Let me show you something," he said. The old man held up the sand and let it slowly fall through his fingers. "Time," he said, "is like this sand. It slips away little by little, and once it's gone, you can never get it back." Jack frowned. "But I have plenty of time. I'm young." Mr. Sam chuckled softly. "That's what everyone thinks, Jack, but time waits for no one. Let me tell you a story." Jack sat down on a bench, intrigued. "Once," Mr. Sam began, "there was a farmer who owned a field of golden wheat. The wheat was ready to harvest, but the farmer kept saying, 'I'll do it tomorrow.' Day after day, he delayed. One night, a terrible storm came. The rain and wind destroyed the wheat, leaving the farmer with nothing. The next morning, he stood in his empty field, filled with regret. If only he had acted sooner, he could have saved his crop. But he learned too late that time waits for no one." Jack listened quietly. For the first time, he thought about how much time he had wasted. Hours spent doing nothing, days putting off important work. "So, I'm like that farmer?" Jack asked softly. Mr. Sam nodded. "Yes, Jack. Every moment you waste is like a grain of sand slipping through your fingers. But here's the good news. You can start using your time wisely, right now." Jack looked at the clock, its rusty hands ticking away. For the first time, he felt the weight of those ticking seconds. "Thank you, Mr. Sam," he said. "I'll remember this." From that day on, Jack changed. He started waking up early to finish his homework, helping his parents without being asked, and even spending time reading books. Years later, Jack became a successful man, admired by everyone in the village. Whenever people asked him how he achieved so much, Jack would smile and say, "An old man named Mr. Sam taught me the value of time." And every now and then, Jack would visit the garden by the river, where the rusty old clock still stood, reminding him of a lesson he would never forget. Moral of the story: time is like sand. It slips away quickly. Use it wisely, because once it's gone, you can never get it back.
If you like my video, subscribe my channel for more such videos. Goodbye.